Alrighty folks, this is Lurch from Ireland Gaming and welcome back to another episode of From the Depths. A couple of people have been asking for some sort of orbital laser defense platform, something that can shoot the crap out of stuff from space and not really have to worry about anything shooting back. So I built one. I'm pretty sure I left it somewhere up here behind this small moon. I don't see it. I got a bad feeling about this. Hang on. That's no moon. That's a space station! Welcome to the Derp Star. So, yeah, I've decided to build a laser defense platform, and this was the logical choice. I checked on the workshop, and no one had built a Death Star yet of any kind. So, I built a baby one. We have our, all the necessary features. We have our equatorial trench. We have our super defense laser planet destroyer type thing, obviously scaled down. This is a smaller platform. And we also have the exhaust port weakness. Any hits here will take out the core and explodify the whole ship. Oh no! But yeah, pretty happy how it turned out. Making a sphere of this size is a bloody nightmare in a block-based game, so this is the best I could do, I'm afraid. It looks a wee bit janky in places, but I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. It's entirely built out of light alloy. It is pointlessly expensive. 1,000,000 RP. And that's mostly because of the absurd laser system. It's also Lua controlled. It's got a really cool little gunship AI that's on the forums. I will put a link in the description to the thread. And it's a great little Lua AI that lets you maintain a specific distance from the target, which is really cool. And I don't think a lot of the other ones can do that. This particular one, I did have trouble with it wanting to change its altitude. So its altitude is actually controlled by ACBs. It's all obviously ion propulsion powered. And there's a couple of ACBs controlling the vertical altitude. Vertical altitude, there is no other altitude. And this just sets the drive faction on the nearby thrusters here, so that whenever it's below a certain point, it's not allowed to use these top thrusters and thrust down, because I found it was going into the atmosphere and falling into the sea. This is a purely space-based draft. You cannot spawn this in the atmosphere, otherwise it'll just fall. It doesn't have enough power to get into space on its own, but it can stay in space quite nicely and move around okay, albeit a little bit slowly. Now this monstrosity here, and I'm actually going to turn the colours down, just because I did this the cheeky way at the start, but so at least we can see what the parts are made of. This is literally a block of lasers. You can see all of those pumps. And what isn't laser is engine, and these are hot rods. This thing's an absolute guzzler. There are 3 hot rod 8000 engines in here, Ruger's fuel injection engines, and they're just for absolute power density. This thing can only fire for about 15 minutes before it actually completely runs out of juice. I did, however, discover an extremely compact method for making laser turrets. Let's just show this guy off. We'll get this so we can get some orientation. But yeah, I discovered that you can input into the side of these frequency relays, and I didn't notice that before. I thought you needed to have 2 relays, one pointing directly into the other face, but you can actually feed into the side of them, and this is just one transceiver on its own, and it's able to bounce a signal 90 degrees. I had no idea about that before, and these actually attach directly to a firing piece. So if you rotate that 90 degrees upwards, you can actually place the firing piece here and extend your thing from that. I ended up extending this to get a little bit more laser accuracy, because the barrel length is a indicative factor of your accuracy for lasers. So I wanted to get an extra couple of the optics in, and I expanded it back a couple of extra blocks. It actually helped quite a bit. Because this thing is programmed to stay pretty far away, if we look at the altitude settings here, we're set to 1800 meters distance and 1100 altitude. So we're very high up and we're very far away. So accuracy is a pretty important factor here. Like I said, this thing absolutely chews through fuel. It's got a big battery bank as well, just to have a little bit of extra overhead. It doesn't really need it. And the batteries, I think, are set to fairly low charge rate. But it's not really more efficient. It's arguably less efficient, but it allows me to leave the ramp time a little bit lower on the engines. I'm not sure if it's really worth it. I could probably just do without the batteries completely, but it's a good time, or a good way to cover any additional spikes in power, because the ion thrusters are actually quite expensive. But anyway, let's get into the cockpit, and I'll turn... That's more or less the entire features of this thing done. There's not that much to it. Let's get this back to being blacker than Darth Vader's soul. Nice and imperial. We have our honorary picture of Mr. Peter Cushing there, who we sadly lost in the first Death Star. This guy needs no introduction. If you don't know who this guy is, you should be absolutely ashamed of yourself. Go watch Spaceballs. But yeah, from here we can have a nice little view of... I should actually maybe move that chair forward a little bit. A nice little view of the destruction, because we have the laser coming out about here. Let's just spawn something in quickly, and we will watch it shoot at it for a little bit. I'm going to do a montage with this thing. I found a really nice X-Wing on the Steam Workshop that is going to make up some of the final scenes in the montage, but we'll see that coming very soon. As you can see here, it rotates around quite nicely. It maintains its altitude because of the ACB settings, and it stays a precise distance away, which is incredible. And it also stays with the direction facing the enemy. You're front facing the enemy. It's actually designed for like jinking gunships, something that'll stay a couple of 100 meters away from the enemy and strafe left and right, which is really cool. If anyone's played the Total Annihilation game, it's the predecessor to Supreme Commander, which more people will know. It had these awesome little jinking gunships that fired popcorn cannons, as Ruger always called them. A very, very good game, absolute classic, and in my opinion, much better than the Supreme Commander series. But very, very cool and useful AI for this exact purpose, and I'm really glad he posted it recently, because I would have been completely scuppered without it. But yeah, that is the Derp Star. Right now, I think I'm going to go with a montage. To be honest, he's not terribly spectacular, but I have a couple of ideas to make things a little bit more interesting. Use the Force, Luke.
You're all clear, kid. Now let's blow this thing and go home.
Okay, so it's not super powerful, it's actually a bit crap, and it's really expensive. But it's a Derp Star. What more can you want? You might notice I added shields as well, because it kept getting blown up in the montages and I couldn't do much with it. So, yeah, Can't recommend this for the campaign, but if you want to just faff about with it and blow stuff up in the vehicle editor, I think it's probably more suited for that cause. Just another thing to note, the X-Wing that I've been using in the montage there is this fella here. And this was made by Pentasim on the workshop, and I am going to put a link to his version on the workshop. This is actually one that I've refitted with the new engines, and I also added an R2 unit, which was an NPC spawner on one of the ones that I used in the montage. But this particular one has just got a refitted engine, and I dialed some of the thrusters back. But you can go and get the original one. It still flies okay. It'll still fly in the current version, but you might need to rehaul it if you want to actually use it as a functional vehicle. But it's so very cool. Absolutely amazing build. The best one, like Star Wars themed one, I think I've seen on the workshop, to be honest. But yeah, I do really hope you enjoyed the episode and the little montage. Any likes, subs or comments are really awesome. I love hearing from you guys, and I read every single comment. As always, take it handy and have a bloody good day.